Her father kicked her out when she turned 18. But the next day, Emily Johnson never imagined her 18th birthday would become the worst day of her life. The father, who had always been protective and affectionate, suddenly turned into a cold, calculating stranger. "Well, now you're an adult," said Robert Johnson, standing at the front door with his arms crossed. "You can grab your things and figure it out on your own." The young woman was stunned. Just a few hours earlier, he had waved good morning as he always did. Now, as the sun set over the small town of Greenfield in rural Illinois, she dragged her black suitcase along the sidewalk while her father slammed the door shut behind her. "Dad, for God's sake, what did I do?" Emily shouted, fighting back tears. But the only response was the sound of the TV turning on inside. It was as if she had ceased to exist overnight. Emily spent her first night sleeping on a bench in the town square, using her backpack as a pillow. The November chill seeped through her thin jacket, and she couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. Ever since her mother, Sarah, had passed away 2 years earlier due to pneumonia complications, her father had changed. He'd become more serious, more distant, but never cruel like this. The next morning, still in wrinkled clothes and with swollen eyes from crying, Emily was startled by Mrs. Jenkins, a grey-haired woman who lived on the street next to hers. "Sweetheart, what are you doing here?" the elderly woman asked, approaching with a bag of bread. "Mrs. Jenkins, my dad kicked me out yesterday," Emily replied, her voice breaking. The woman's expression changed completely. She glanced around as if afraid of being overheard, then sat beside the young woman on the bench. "Emily, dear, I need to tell you something. Your father didn't kick you out of spite." "What do you mean?" "He's about to lose the house. Just yesterday I saw 2 men in suits at his door. They looked like they were from the bank." Emily's heart nearly stopped. The house where she was born, where she'd grown up with her mother, where all her most precious memories lived, was it really in danger? "But Mrs. Jenkins, how do you know this?" "Honey, I've lived here for 40 years. I can tell when a neighbor's in trouble. Your father's been leaving early and coming home late. The garden your mother loved so much is overgrown. And there's more." Mrs. Jenkins hesitated before continuing. "Last week I heard him crying in the backyard, a grown man sobbing quietly in the middle of the night. It would break anyone's heart." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers. Now back to the story. Emily felt a mix of anger and pity. Why hadn't her father told her the truth? Why had he chosen to push her away so cruelly? "Mrs. Jenkins, do you have any idea how much time he has left?" "From the papers I saw in the trash yesterday while sweeping the sidewalk, it looks like a matter of days, dear." The young woman jumped to her feet. No matter how her father had treated her, she couldn't let him face this alone. They walked together to the Johnson family home. For the first time, Emily noticed how the paint was peeling, how the grass was overgrown, how everything looked abandoned. She knocked on the door repeatedly, but there was no answer. She circled the house and found the kitchen window slightly open. She managed to climb inside and was shocked by what she saw. The house was practically empty. The fridge, which had always been full of food, now held only a pack of crackers and a bottle of water. The dining table, where they'd shared family meals, was bare. In her parents' bedroom, she found a pile of torn papers in the trash. Carefully, she began piecing the fragments together like a puzzle. Gradually, she managed to read a few words. Foreclosure, final deadline, 48 hours. Her heart raced when she recognized her father's handwriting in a note scribbled in the margin. "God forgive me, but it's better for her to hate a living father than to remember fondly one who failed." Now it all made sense. Robert hadn't kicked her out of cruelty, but out of love. He didn't want her to witness the humiliation of eviction, didn't want her to carry the guilt of not being able to help. Emily ran through the house searching for more clues. In the drawer of his dresser, she found a letter from her mother she'd never seen before. It was dated 3 years ago when Sarah was already very ill. "My dear Robert, if anything happens to me, promise you'll take good care of our Emily. I know you're proud, but don't carry your burdens alone. She's stronger than you think. My wardrobe drawer has important documents. Use them if needed. With all my love, Sarah. The mentioned drawer was empty, but there were marks in the wood showing something had been stored there for a long time. What could it be? And why hadn't her father used it? The sound of the front door opening made Emily rush to the living room. It was Robert, but she barely recognized him. The strong, imposing man she knew now looked like he'd aged 10 years. His clothes were dirty, his face weary, and he walked with a slight limp. "What are you doing here?" he asked, avoiding his daughter's eyes. "Dad, I know everything." "You don't know anything, girl. Leave before it's too late." "Too late for what? To help you?" Robert laughed bitterly. "Help me? Emily, I owe over $50,000. You barely finished high school. How are you going to help?" "Telling the truth would be a good start," she replied, holding up the papers she'd gathered. Her father's expression hardened further. "I don't want your pity." "It's not pity, Dad. It's love. It's family." "Family?" Robert snapped. "What family?" "Your mother's gone. I failed. The house is going. Nothing's left, Emily. Nothing." "I'm left," she said softly. For the first time since she'd arrived, Robert looked his daughter in the eyes. For a moment, she saw the loving father she once knew. But then he looked away. "You don't understand. The loans, the interest, it's a snowball that started when your mother got sick. I tried to pay for the best treatment, the best clinics, the best doctors. I spent every last cent and still went into debt. And when she passed, well, the banks don't stop collecting because you're grieving." Emily felt tears streaming down her face. Finally, she understood the weight her father had been carrying. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Why, so you could carry that guilt too? So you could think your mother—" "Think what, Dad?" Robert hesitated. "So you could think she left because of us, that we didn't do enough." "Dad, she left because it was her time, and we did everything we could." "I didn't do everything, Emily. If I'd taken her to Chicago sooner, if I'd saved more money, if I'd—" "Stop, Dad. Just stop." Robert sank heavily into the only chair left in the room. "It doesn't matter anymore, sweetheart. The bailiff's coming tomorrow. They'll seal the house and that's it." "Then what? What are you going to do?" "I'll stay at a boarding house downtown. I already talked to Mr. Mike at the auto shop. He said I can sleep there in exchange for working nights as security." "And me? You'll live your life. Study, work, build your own family, far away from all this mess." Emily knelt in front of her father. "Dad, I'm not abandoning you. We'll figure this out together." "Together?" Robert scoffed. "With what money, Emily? What miracle?" "I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out." Just then, someone knocked on the door. It was Rachel Wilson, her father's second cousin, whom Emily Johnson hadn't seen in years. "Uncle Robert." "It's me, Rachel." Robert opened the door, looking surprised. "Rachel? What are you doing here?" The woman, about 40 years old, was well-dressed and drove a new car that Emily could see through the window. "I heard through town gossip that you're going through a rough patch. I came to offer help." "What kind of help?" asked Emily, suspicious. "Well, I have a big house in Indianapolis. You can stay there for a while until you get back on your feet." Robert frowned. "And what do you want in return?" "Uncle, what kind of talk is that? We're family." "Rachel, you haven't been here in 5 years. You didn't even show up at Sarah's funeral. Why now?" The woman seemed a little embarrassed. "Uncle, I know we drifted apart, but..." "But what?" "Well, there's one thing. Do you know if Aunt Sarah left any important documents, any insurance, anything like that?" Emily and Robert exchanged glances. Now it was clear what their cousin was really after. "Rachel," Robert said firmly, "if you knew anything about insurance, why didn't you mention it before?" Well, I thought you knew." "Knew what?" "About the policy Aunt Sarah took out 3 years ago. She mentioned it to me once, but I figured you were handling it." Emily felt her heart race. "What policy?" "A life insurance policy. It wasn't a huge amount, but it would cover a modest house." Robert turned pale. "Sarah never told me about that." "Uncle, are you sure?" "Because she said she listed you and Emily as beneficiaries." "Rachel, I handle my family's finances. If there was insurance, I'd know." Unless the documents were somewhere else, Emily said, remembering the empty drawer. What drawer? Rachel asked, far too interested. Nothing important, Robert cut in, but Rachel didn't give up. Look, if you find the documents, I can help with the paperwork. I have contacts at several insurance companies. For a cut, I assume, Emily said, growing more suspicious. Emily, her father scolded. No, Uncle, she's right to be suspicious. I really did distance myself from the family. But now I genuinely want to help. Help how? Let me take you to Indianapolis today. Tomorrow we can look for the insurance papers. If they exist, great. If not, you can stay at my place as long as you need. Robert looked at Emily, who shook her head. Rachel, I appreciate the offer, but I'd rather handle things here. Uncle, be practical. You're getting evicted tomorrow. At my place, you'll have time to figure things out. And what do you get out of this? Emily pressed. The peace of mind of knowing I'm helping family. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers. Now, back to the story. Robert seemed tempted by the offer, but Emily had a bad feeling. Dad, can I talk to you in private? The two stepped into the backyard, leaving Rachel in the living room. Dad, I don't trust her. Emily, we don't have many options. Yes, we do. We can look for this insurance, she mentioned. And if it doesn't exist, we'll face whatever comes, but together. Sweetheart, you're too young to understand. Sometimes you have to swallow your pride. And sometimes you have to trust your gut. They returned to the living room and found Rachel rifling through papers on the table. Rachel, what are you doing? Oh, sorry, Uncle, just checking for any clues about the insurance. Find anything? Unfortunately, no, but I brought some documents for you to sign. What documents? Just a simple power of attorney, so I can handle the paperwork while you're settling in Indianapolis. Emily snatched the papers from her hand. Power of attorney for what exactly? To handle accounts, settle property matters, things like that. Rachel, said Robert, now also suspicious. Why do you need power of attorney just to let us stay in your house? It's just to make things easier, Uncle. Easier how? Rachel began to stammer. Look, guys, I tried to help. If you don't want to... No, wait, Emily interrupted. Now I want to understand. How did you even know we were in trouble? Everyone in town is talking about it. And who told you about the insurance? I already told you, Aunt Sarah herself. When? When she was in the hospital. Rachel, Robert's voice turned dangerous. Sarah was never hospitalized. She spent her last months at home. The woman flushed. It must have been another time. What time? You haven't been here in years. Uncle, you're confusing me. The important thing, Emily cut in, is that you're lying. Rachel sighed and sat down. Fine, you want the truth? The truth is I'm entitled to part of Grandma Dorothy's inheritance, an inheritance that was left entirely to Aunt Sarah and should now be divided. What inheritance? Robert asked. My mother had no money. No money, but she had a house in downtown Chicago that you sold after she passed. Rachel, that house was sold to pay off her debts. Nothing was left. There was, Uncle, and I can prove it. She pulled a folder full of documents from her bag. Grandma left a will, and in that will she divided everything equally among her children. Since my father had already passed by then, his share should have come to me. Robert took the papers and examined them. Rachel, this will is from 1987. Back then, my mother didn't own that downtown house. She bought it later, with money she saved from working. But she bought it with Grandpa's inheritance money. What inheritance? My father was a mechanic. He left no inheritance. Yes, he did. The auto shop. The auto shop was sold to pay his hospital debts. Rachel was growing more agitated. Uncle, you always had more than us. Always lived better. Rachel, we lived well because we worked hard. Sarah and I, both of us. And we didn't work. I don't know how you lived. You distanced yourselves from the family. We distanced ourselves because you always thought you were better. Emily was starting to grasp the situation. Rachel, you didn't come here to help. You came because you thought we were rich from the insurance. And you're not. Do you see any wealth here? Robert gestured to the empty house. Rachel looked around and seemed to notice the state of the house for the first time. But what about Aunt Sarah's insurance? What insurance, Rachel? You made that up. I didn't. I found out by chance. How? Well, I was talking to Jennifer, who works at the bank. Which Jennifer? Jennifer Taylor. She's a teller at First National Bank. Robert knew Jennifer. She was a serious woman who had always treated them well. And what did Jennifer say? That Aunt Sarah had an insurance policy kept in the bank's safe deposit box. Rachel, Sarah never had a safe deposit box. Are you sure? Robert paused to think. Sarah had always handled the family's documents. Could there be something he didn't know? Dad, Emily said, we can go to the bank tomorrow and check. Good idea. But tomorrow's Saturday, Rachel reminded them. Monday then. But by Monday you'll already be evicted. It was true, the deadline was Monday morning. Uncle, just accept my help. Let's go to Indianapolis. On Monday we'll come back and sort everything out. Robert looked at Emily. The offer was starting to make sense. Only without the power of attorney, Emily said. Without it? That's right. If you want to help, help. But no papers to sign. All right, agreed Rachel. But we leave now. I don't want to risk you changing your minds. Something in her tone bothered Emily. Why the rush? Because tomorrow I have commitments in Indianapolis. What commitments? Work. What do you do for work? I'm a consultant. A consultant for what? Real estate matters. Robert and Emily exchanged glances. Now everything made even more sense. Rachel, Robert said slowly, you work in real estate? I do. And by any chance, do you know someone interested in buying foreclosed homes? Rachel flushed again. Uncle, what kind of question is that? A straightforward one. Did you come here to help us or to profit from our situation? I came to help. Help how? By buying our house cheap at auction? What auction? The auction that'll happen after the eviction. Rachel stood abruptly. You're being very unfair to me. We're being realistic, said Emily. Fine. If you don't want my help, I don't care anymore. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Rachel, wait, Robert called. Why, Uncle? To hear more accusations? To hear the truth. Rachel paused, her hand on the doorknob. What truth? The truth about why you really came here. She took a deep breath and turned around. All right. The truth is I found out you were going to lose the house, and the truth is I have a client interested in buying homes in this area, and the truth is I thought we could make a deal that worked for everyone. What kind of deal? I'd buy your house at a fair price before the auction. You'd get money to settle somewhere else, and I'd earn my commission. And Mom's insurance? I hoped it existed. It'd mean more money for you and for me. For you, how? I'd help you claim it and take a percentage. Robert shook his head. Rachel, you lied about almost everything. I lied to try to help. Help yourself. Uncle, we all have bills to pay. But not all of us use our family's suffering to do it. Rachel slammed the door on her way out. Robert and Emily were alone again. But now, with an important piece of information, maybe there really was insurance. Dad, what if Rachel's right about the insurance? I don't know, sweetheart. Your mother never mentioned anything to me. But she talked about the documents in the drawer. That's true. What do you think was in there? I have no idea. Emily had a thought. Dad, we could go see Jennifer at the bank. If she really mentioned the insurance, maybe she knows more. Good idea. But first, we need to get through tonight. We'll stay right here. Emily, there's no bed, no food. We'll manage. Tomorrow morning, we'll go see Jennifer. They spent the night on the living room floor, using clothes from Emily's suitcase as blankets. Father and daughter talked late into the night, speaking openly about everything for the first time in 2 years. Missing Mom, their fears, the future. Dad, can I ask you something? Of course. Why didn't you want my help before? Robert took a long time to answer. because I was afraid you'd see me as a failure. You were never a failure to me. Yes, I was, Emily. I couldn't save your mother. I couldn't keep our house. Dad, stop. We can't control everything in life. I should have controlled at least the basics, given my daughter a home and food. You gave me so much more than that. You gave me love. You set an example. You gave me strength. Robert's eyes welled up. Your mother used to say the same thing, because it was true. I miss her so much, Emily. Me too, Dad. But she wouldn't want to see us like this, fighting and suffering apart. No, she wouldn't. She'd want us facing things together. Yeah, she was always braver than me. You're brave too. Working 3 jobs, trying to save the house alone, that's very brave. But it wasn't enough. Dad, it's not over yet. Tomorrow we'll look into that insurance policy. What if it doesn't exist? We'll find another way. What other way? I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out. Robert looked at his daughter. At 18, she showed a determination he had lost. Maybe it was time to accept he didn't have to carry everything alone. The next morning, bright and early, they went to Jennifer's house. She lived nearby in a simple but well-kept home. Mr. Johnson? Emily? What are you doing here? Jennifer, sorry to bother you on a Saturday, but it's important, Robert said. Of course, come in. The house was cozy, smelling of fresh coffee and homemade bread. Would you like some coffee? We'd love some, thank you, Emily replied. They sat in the kitchen and Robert got straight to the point. Jennifer, did you tell anyone about Sarah having a life insurance policy? The woman nearly dropped her cup. Did I? Who? Rachel, my cousin. Mr. Johnson, I don't know any Rachel who's your cousin. Are you sure? Absolutely. And about the insurance, is there a policy? Jennifer glanced around nervously. Look, I shouldn't be talking about this, it's confidential. Jennifer, please, Emily pleaded. We're going to lose the house on Monday. I know. That's why. Why what? That's why I reached out to you. When did you reach out? 2 weeks ago. I sent a message with Mr. Mike from the auto shop. Robert was confused. Jennifer, Mr. Mike never gave me any message. He didn't? I asked him to tell you that Mrs. Sarah had left important documents at the bank and that you should come get them. What documents? A life insurance policy and a few other things. Emily's heart raced. What other things? A written statement and a sealed envelope. Statement about what? I can't read clients' documents, but I can say she came to the bank 3 days before she passed. 3 days before. Robert was shocked. But she was so weak. How did she get to the bank? She took a cab, said it was very important and couldn't wait. And why didn't you come to me sooner? I tried, Mr. Johnson. Besides the message with Mr. Mike, I sent a registered letter. I never got any letter. You didn't? But it was delivered. I have the receipt. Jennifer went to fetch a paper from a drawer. Here it is, delivered 2 Mondays ago, received by R. Johnson. Robert examined the paper. Jennifer, that signature isn't mine. The woman checked the receipt. You're right, it looks like a woman's handwriting. What woman would have access to my mail? Emily had a suspicion. Dad, wasn't it Rachel who said she heard about the insurance by chance? What if she intercepted the letter? How? I don't know. Maybe she convinced the mailman she was helping us. Jennifer was listening closely. Guys, who is this Rachel? My cousin. She showed up yesterday saying you told her about the insurance. But I never spoke to any Rachel. The only person I talked to was a woman who claimed to be your neighbor. What did she look like? About 40, brown hair, dressed professionally. That's Rachel, Emily confirmed. But she didn't say she was a cousin. She said she was a neighbor and was worried about you. What else did she ask? If there really was insurance, how much it was worth, things like that. And you answered? I only said there were important documents and that you should come get them. Robert was furious. So she knew everything from the start. Seems like it, Emily said, and she tried to use us to get access to the documents. What a wretched person, Robert muttered. Guys, I'm sorry, but do you want to get the documents today? Jennifer asked. I can open the bank real quick for you. You can do that? Yes, I can. In special cases, we can open outside business hours. And is this a special case? Of course it is. You're about to lose your house on Monday. An hour later, they were standing in front of the bank. Jennifer opened the door and led them to the vault room. Sarah's safe is small. She paid for the cheapest annual fee. Jennifer opened the safe using the 2 required keys. Inside were 3 items: an insurance policy, a sealed envelope, and a handwritten note. Robert picked up the policy first. It was indeed a life insurance policy worth $60,000, with him and Emily as beneficiaries. "Dad, this is enough money to save the house and still have some left," Emily said, emotional. "But why did Sarah never tell me about this?" "Maybe the answer is in this letter," Jennifer said, pointing to the handwritten note. Robert began reading aloud. "My dear Robert, if you're reading this, it means I've already passed and you've discovered this safe. I took out this policy in secret because I know how proud you are. I knew you'd never accept me spending money on something you'd consider unnecessary. But I needed to make sure you'd be protected if anything happened to me. The amount should be enough to pay off our house and still leave something for Emily's education. There's one condition. The money can only be claimed if both of you are present when filing the request. I did this on purpose because I know you both tend to drift apart when you're hurting. Robert, my love, don't carry the guilt alone. Emily is stronger than you think, and you need each other." Inside the sealed envelope are detailed instructions for claiming the money, as well as a personal letter for each of you. "With all my eternal love, Sarah." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now, back to the story. Robert couldn't finish reading. Tears streamed uncontrollably down his face. "She knew," he whispered. "She knew I'd be too proud to accept help. And she knew we'd pull apart in grief," Emily added, also crying. Jennifer quietly stepped away to give them privacy. "Dad, Mom was right. We need each other." "We really do, sweetheart. I'm sorry for being so stubborn." "I'm sorry for being stubborn too." They hugged right there in the vault room, holding the documents that represented Sarah's love and care for their family's future. After composing themselves, they opened the sealed envelope. Inside was a step-by-step guide for filing the insurance claim and 2 smaller letters, one for each of them. Robert's letter read, "My dear, I know you blame yourself for not being able to cure me. I want you to know that the best years of my life were by your side. You gave me love, companionship, and our wonderful daughter. Not everything can be cured, but love can overcome anything. Take care of our girl, but let her take care of you too. With eternal love, your Sarah." Emily's letter was even more moving. "My darling daughter, by the time you read this, you'll already be a woman. I know you'll look after your father because you have a heart as big as his. But remember, caring doesn't mean carrying everything alone. You're a team. You always have been. Study, work, be happy, but never forget that family is the most important thing in the world. I love you forever, Mom." "Dad, how do we get the insurance money?" "Let's check the instructions." According to the document, they needed to go to the insurance company's headquarters in Chicago on Monday, bringing the original documents and an updated death certificate. "Jennifer, can we get that certificate today?" "Not on Saturdays, but you can get it at the records office on Monday morning." "But Monday morning is when the bailiff comes to evict us," Emily reminded. "What time?" 10 in the morning. "And the records office opens at 8. If you go straight there, you can get the certificate and still make it to the insurance company before noon." "And how long does it take for the money to come through?" "Usually 5 business days after approval." Robert did the math. 5 business days means the money will come through next Friday. "But the house will be sealed on Monday," Emily pointed out. "We could try talking to the bank," Jennifer suggested. "Explain the situation and ask for an extension. Do you think they'll agree? With the insurance proof in hand, it's possible. Then let's try." They left the bank hopeful but still worried. They'd found a solution, but they needed time to make it happen. Back at home, Robert called the bank manager. "Mr. Thomas, it's Robert Johnson." "Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry, but I can't delay the process any further." "I understand, Mr. Thomas, but there's a new development." "What development?" "We found my wife's life insurance policy, and it covers the entire debt." "Mr. Johnson, with all due respect, we've been through this before. You always have a promise of money that never materializes." "This time is different. I have the documents right here." "What documents?" "The original insurance policy." There was a pause on the other end. "Mr. Johnson, if you really have a policy, why didn't you use it before?" "Because I didn't know it existed." "What do you mean?" "My wife set it up in secret. We only found out today." "Mr. Johnson, I need to see those documents. Can we meet tomorrow?" "Tomorrow is Sunday." "Monday morning, then." "Monday morning, the bailiff will be there at 10. What if we come to the bank at 8? "At 8 in the morning, I won't be there." "What time do you arrive?" "At 9. "Then we'll be there at 9. "All right. But Mr. Johnson, if this is just another empty promise—" "It's not, Mr. Thomas. This time it's real." After hanging up, Robert sat down heavily. "What now?" "Now we pray everything works out," Emily said. "And if it doesn't?" "It will, Dad. It has to." They spent Sunday organizing all the paperwork and planning their next steps. Sunday night, neither father nor daughter slept well. Monday morning at 7:30, they were already ready to go. The plan was, go to the records office at 8, get the death certificate, go to the bank at 9 to show the policy to the manager, and hope he'd agree to halt the eviction. At the records office, they were first in line. Within 20 minutes, they had the certificate in hand. "Dad, let's go straight to the bank. Let's go." They arrived at 8:40 and waited by the door until the manager arrived. "Mr. Thomas? Mr. Johnson, you actually came." "We did. And we brought the documents." They went into the manager's office. Robert showed the policy, the death certificate, and the instructions Sarah had left. Thomas examined everything carefully. "Mr. Johnson, these documents appear legitimate." "They are legitimate. And the insurance amount does cover your debt. It covers it and then some. But I need assurance that you'll be able to withdraw this money." "What kind of assurance?" "A statement from the insurance company confirming the policy's validity." "Mr. Thomas, it's 9:15. The bailiff arrives at 10. We don't have time to go to Chicago and back." "I know. What can we do?" Thomas thought for a moment. "I can call the insurance company and confirm over the phone." "You'd do that?" "I can try." Thomas called the insurance company and explained the situation. After several transfers, he reached someone with access to the system. "Yes, the policy exists." "Yes, the beneficiaries are Robert Johnson and Emily Johnson. Yes, the amount is $60,000. And to withdraw it, they need to come here in person with the original documents." "When?" "Any business day during working hours. And when will the money be available?" 5 business days after the documentation is approved." Thomas hung up and looked at Robert. "Mr. Robert, I'll suspend the eviction." "Really?" "Yes, but on one condition." "What is it?" "You have 2 weeks to bring the money. If you don't, the eviction happens automatically." 2 weeks is more than enough." "Then it's settled." Thomas called to cancel the court officer. Robert and Emily left the bank feeling victorious but knew they still had work ahead. "Dad, now we need to go to Chicago." "When?" "Today, so we don't waste any more time." They took the 2 o'clock bus. During the trip, they talked about the future. "Dad, with the money left from the insurance, what do you want to do?" "I don't know, sweetheart. It's not a lot of money." "It's $50,000, Dad. Enough for you to start a small business." "What kind of business?" "I don't know. You've always been good with your hands. Maybe a small woodworking shop." "That would be nice. Working for myself at my own pace. And I can take a technical course and help you with the administrative side. Don't you want to go to college?" "I do, but it can wait. First, we need to stabilize our situation." "Emily, I don't want you to sacrifice your dreams for me." "Dad, my dream is to see our family doing well. The rest can come later." They arrived in Chicago at 5 in the evening. The insurance company was already closed. Now what? We'll stay overnight in Chicago and come back first thing in the morning. Where will we sleep? There's that boarding house near the bus station. It's cheap and clean. They spent the night in a simple boarding house, but remained hopeful. The next morning, they were the first to arrive at the insurance company. The service was quick and efficient. In 2 hours, all the documentation was approved. The money will be in your account by Friday, the clerk confirmed. Friday? Yes, 5 business days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Monday. Oops, sorry, that's 5 days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday. So next Monday? Exactly. It was longer than they expected, but still within the bank's deadline. They returned to Greenfield on Tuesday night, exhausted but relieved. Dad, we did it. We really did, sweetheart. Now we just wait for the money to come in. Yeah. But on Wednesday, they got an unexpected call. Hello? Mr. Robert? This is the insurance company. I have bad news. Robert's heart nearly stopped. What news? There's a problem with your documentation. What kind of problem? The death certificate you submitted has an inconsistency. What inconsistency? The date is different from what's in our system. What do you mean? In our system, Mrs. Sarah passed away on May 15th. On your certificate, it says May 13th. Robert was confused. But the certificate is correct. She passed away on the 13th. Mr. Robert, you'll need to come here to clarify this situation. When? As soon as possible. Until this is resolved, the payment is suspended. Robert hung up and told Emily, Dad, this doesn't make sense. How could their system have the wrong date? I don't know, sweetheart. Do we have to go back to Chicago? Looks like it. But we don't have money for tickets anymore. It was true. They had spent their last savings on the previous trip. What now? At that moment, Mrs. Jenkins appeared at the door. Robert, Emily, how are things? They told her about the problem with the insurance company. How much do you need for the tickets? About $80, Mrs. Jenkins. I'll lend it to you. You'd do that? Of course. You've always been good neighbors. With the borrowed money, they returned to Chicago on Thursday. At the insurance company, they discovered there had indeed been a system error. The problem is that when you first checked, an employee entered the wrong date, the supervisor explained. What now? Now we correct it and release the payment. When? Since it's already past the usual deadline, it'll be processed today. Today? Yes. In a few hours, the money will be in your account. They left the insurance company elated. By 4 in the afternoon, the money was already in their account. They rushed back to Greenfield and went straight to the bank. Mr. Thomas, the money is here. Really? Yes. Look at the statement. Thomas checked and smiled. Mr. Robert, congratulations. You did it. We did. I'll prepare the debt settlement documents. Within an hour, everything was resolved. The house was saved. Father and daughter returned home in silence, still processing everything that had happened. Dad, we really did it. We did, sweetheart. Mom would be proud. She really would. Do you think she knew it would be this hard? I think she knew we'd need each other. And we really did. That's true. That night, they slept at home for the first time in a week. The next day, Robert woke up with a different energy. Emily, let's start planning our future. How so? We'll use the leftover money to start our own business. What kind of business? A woodworking shop. But not just woodworking. We can do custom furniture, renovations, things like that. I can handle the administrative side. And you can take your vocational course too, at the same time. Why not? You're smart and determined. Who do I take after? She teased. Your mother, he replied, smiling for the first time in a long while. In the following months, they set up the woodworking shop in their backyard. They started small, making a few pieces for neighbors. The quality of Robert's work and Emily's organizational skills soon attracted more clients. Rachel tried to show up a few times, always with flimsy excuses, but they learned to protect themselves from people who only wanted to take advantage. Dad, don't you think we should forgive Rachel? Forgive? Yes, sweetheart. But trust again? No. What's the difference? Forgiving is for our sake. Trusting is for hers, and she hasn't shown she deserves it yet. Emily completed her vocational course in business administration and soon began attracting clients through social media. The business grew faster than they expected. A year later, they were renovating the house. They painted everything, fixed up the garden Sarah had loved so much, and even bought new furniture. Dad, do you miss Mom? I miss her a lot, sweetheart. But now it's a good kind of missing, not pain anymore. How so? Before, I felt guilt along with the longing. Now I just feel grateful to have had her in my life. And I'm grateful to have both of you, even with all the trouble I caused. Dad, the trouble brought us here. If you hadn't kicked me out, maybe we'd never have found out about the insurance. That's true. Mom knew what she was doing when she wrote that letter. She really did. She was always wiser than both of us. On the second anniversary of Sarah's passing, they held a small ceremony in the backyard. They planted a red rose bush, her favorite flower. Thank you, Mom, for taking care of us even after you were gone, said Emily. Thank you for teaching us that family is forever, Robert added. The woodworking shop kept growing. They hired 2 employees and were planning to rent a larger space. Dad, have you thought about naming the business? How about Johnson Furniture? How about Sarah's Furniture? Robert smiled. Perfect. 2.5 years after the day Emily was kicked out of the house, they opened the new headquarters of Sarah's Furniture. The gathering was small, just for close friends and neighbors who had helped them. Mrs. Jenkins was there, proud as if she were part of the family. Jennifer also came, celebrating her friend's success. Even Mr. Mike from the auto shop showed up, apologizing for not passing along the message from the bank. Mr. Mike, if you had delivered that message, maybe we wouldn't have learned everything we did, said Emily. What did you learn? That family is more important than pride, Robert replied. And that together we're stronger, Emily added. During the party, Rachel arrived unexpectedly. Uncle Robert, Emily, can I talk to you? They stepped away from the guests. What do you want, Rachel? I want to apologize, truly. Apologize for what, exactly? For trying to take advantage of your situation, for lying, for being selfish. Robert and Emily exchanged glances. And why now? Because I finally understand what I lost. You're the only family I have left, and I nearly destroyed it out of greed. Rachel, we accept your apology, Emily said. Really? We do. But trust is something that takes time to rebuild. I understand. If you want to be part of our family again, you'll have to prove you've changed. How? By being honest, by showing up, by being real family. I want to try. Then start by coming to Sunday lunches, Robert said. Can I? Yes. But no hidden agendas. No hidden agendas. In the months that followed, Rachel truly made an effort to mend the relationship. She came every Sunday, helped in the kitchen, asked about the business without interfering. Emily started business school, studying at night and working during the day. Robert hired more employees, and the company became a local standout. 3 years after the fallout, on the eve of Emily's 21st birthday, father and daughter sat on the porch of their renovated home. Dad, do you regret anything? I regret being too proud to ask for help sooner. Anything else? I regret kicking you out the way I did. I don't regret it. No? No. If it hadn't happened that way, maybe we never would have truly found each other. What do you mean? Dad, we lived in the same house, but we were both alone in our pain. You carrying guilt, me not knowing how to help. That's true. When you sent me away, we had to look each other in the eye and speak the truth. And it was the best thing that could have happened. It really was. Your mum knew. Knew what? That we'd need to go through this to find our way back. How did she know? Because she understood us better than we understood ourselves. That night, Emily slept in her room, in her home. beside the father who loved her more than anything in the world. She dreamed of her mother, who appeared smiling, saying how proud she was of how they'd taken care of each other. The next day, for Emily's 21st birthday, they threw a big party. All their friends, neighbors, employees, and customers were invited. During the toast, Robert asked for everyone's attention. "I want to thank everyone here today. 3 years ago, Emily and I went through the hardest time of our lives. I almost lost my daughter because of pride, and she almost lost her father because of stubbornness. But we didn't lose each other," Emily interrupted. "We didn't because we learned that family isn't about being right or wrong. It's about standing together. And about accepting help when you need it," Emily added. "So I'd like to raise a glass," Robert said, lifting his drink, "to my wife Sarah, who taught us that true love means caring for your family's future, even when you're no longer here." "To our family," Emily said. "To our family," echoed everyone present. The celebration lasted late into the night. When everyone had left, father and daughter stayed on the porch talking about their plans for the future. "Dad, we really managed to turn things around." "We did, sweetheart. And do you know why?" "Why?" "Because we never gave up on each other. And we never will. Never." They looked up at the starry sky and felt Sarah was there with them, approving everything they had built together. "Dad, can I tell you something?" "Of course." "Thank you for kicking me out of the house." Robert laughed. "Thank you for coming back." "I'll always come back, Dad. Always." "I know, sweetheart. I know." And so 3 years after the day that nearly destroyed the Johnson family, father and daughter discovered that sometimes you have to get lost to find yourself. You have to separate to come together, and you almost have to lose everything to discover what truly matters. The house was saved, the business was thriving, the family was united, and Sarah's love continued to watch over all of them, just as it always had and always would. The end. So, what did you think of this touching story? Tell us in the comments which part moved you the most. Do you think Robert did the right thing by kicking Emily out, even if it was out of love? And wasn't Sarah an amazing mother, thinking about the family's future? Leave your thoughts below. We love reading every one of your comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss other stories that will warm your heart.